Ladies and gentlemen, Colin. Ladies and gentlemen, can we get everybody to please just slide in? We know you bought your tickets for specific seats, some of you, but if you could slide in, then latecomers can just sit on those edge seats. Thank you. We're going to start in just a moment. Good afternoon, and welcome to the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering. This is the granddaddy event of cowboy poetry gatherings that happen across the West. And as we creep, the West creeps into the East. They're starting out there now too. And we'd like to thank all of you, our members and our patrons, ticket buyers, all of you for coming year after year and purchasing tickets and joining us and sharing this tradition and passing it on. And in the tradition of passing things on, we want to encourage all of you in the future as you come to bring your friends, to bring your grandchildren, to bring your college-age students who are getting ready to go out into the world. Share this experience with them. And if it's been meaningful to you, they're going to see something both in your relationships with each other as audience members and your passion with also the artists. That's one of the wonderful things about Elko and that tradition of sharing. And we are so lucky to have had Waddie Mitchell and Don Edwards be willing to share their passion and their love of cowboy poetry and cowboy music with us for almost 30 years. Isn't this an amazing thing? We always talk about these young kids that we can actually watch the growth in, the Oscar Ockers and the Andy Hedges, and how they've grown up and how their tradition, their craft has grown. But we've also seen some amazing growth in both Waddie and Don and their love of this and their knowledge, and also changes in their lives. And once again, we get to share in that this afternoon, and they're going to share some more of their wonderful knowledge with us. So let's give a big warm welcome to Waddie and Don.
Peanut gallery down here. What's that dip?
Howdy.
How to do. Thank you. There's some that like the city's grass, courage smooth and green, theaters strangling, collars, wagons run by gasoline. But for me it's horse and saddle, every day without a change. Desert suns a-blazing on 100 miles of range. A-riding, desert rippling in the sun, mountains blue along the skyline. Who could envy anyone when we're riding?
There ain't nothing like the feeling that you get down deep inside as you trot out in the morning when you've hired on to ride and your mount's enthusiastic and the air's crisp and new and there's lively conversation going on amongst the crew. There's some bridal crickets chirping, jingle bobs tap out a tune on one side, the sun is rising just ahead, there sets the moon. Shadows high trot there beside you, elongated, keeping pace, reassuring you ain't hobbled by restricted time or space. Out in front, the boss is posting to the same beat as his song, and the realization hits you. You're right where you belong.
When my feet is in the stirrups and my horse is on the bust, his hooves are flashing lightning from a cloud of golden dust. The bawling of the cattle is a-coming down the wind. A finer life than riding would be mighty hard to find. Just a-riding, splitting long cracks through the air. Stirring up a baby cyclone, ripping up the prickly pear while we're riding.
It's then you start appreciating you're on trails where few have trod. And you wonder how you ever doubted if there really is a God. Atop a ridge the boss reins in, so we all gather up around. It's from here he'll call the circle. So we step off to the ground, loosen up your latigo, air the pony's back. You arrange again your blankets, then you realign your cack. Then you step back on just to get dropped off, check to see who's on each side. You're glad that you're a cowboy, and you feel a twinge of pride.
'Cause we don't need no art exhibit when the sunset does her best. Heading path and glory on the mountains to the west. And your Opry looks so foolish when the nightbird starts his tune, and the desert's silver mounted by the touches of the moon. A-riding, who could envy kings and czars? When the coyotes down the valley, they're all singing to the stars while we're riding.
You ate your breakfast by the Coleman, then hurried round to beat the sun. You've got 11 miles behind you, but it's here the work's begun. Now, in town, when folks must travel to their workplace every day, it's said that they're commuting to their job to earn their pay. They'll choke in crazy traffic jams, fight for seats on bus or train. It's a wonder that this ritual doesn't drive them all insane. We too, I guess, commute to work as the job at hand dictates, but we commune while we're commuting. What a difference that makes.
Don't it ever? When my earthly trail is ended and my final bacon curls, the last great roundup's finished at the home ranch of the world. Don't want no harps nor halos, robes nor other dressed up things. We'll ride the starry ranges on a pinto horse with wings. Riding, nothing I like half so well as a-rounding up the sinners that have wandered out of hell. And a-riding, just a-riding, desert rippling in the sun. Mountains blue along the skyline, who could envy anyone? Well, thank you, Waddie. You're so nice. Thank you. Well, my friend, you know, you don't do well sometimes just taking accolades and things, but ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And he was the one that, because at first, the very first years, they were saying that they didn't want no, as Michael Martin Murphy understands, and a few others of us that were here early on, so they didn't want any professional entertainers, you know what I mean? But I was quick to point out that I wasn't a cowboy, but I was a cowboy singer, you know? And I knew the lifestyle and all it stood for and respected it and loved it, and I appreciate my partner over here a whole lot. Thank you, buddy. Why don't you do us something there?
You know, a few years ago, I was riding down California with a real good friend in his car, and he was visiting with me, and he said, Waddie, did you ever have favorite horses when you was out there all them years? And I kind of explained to him, well, you know, you appreciate working like everything else. If you work with a lot of crews throughout the years, every once in a while you'll find one guy that really kind of stays in your memory and things like that, and that's the working deal. Generally, though, you don't get real close with the horses on the ranch, not like you're probably talking about. And I went home and I thought, you know, that was a pretty good answer if you didn't want the truth. He's a great big gangly gruya gelding, green and gant and guised in the mud that he'd been living in a year. All 4 feet were lush with thrush and soft, splayed out, platter-sized, and he's standing, shifting weight and pain and fear. I'd been hired on the phone to trim his feet before they sold him. Times were tough. They were about to lose their ground, but that 3-year-old was crippled, and I showed him. Told him he could be close to a year before he's sound. Short story long, I took the colt. Then I started taking flack, as for a time it looked like he may never trust. But from the day that we connected, neither one of us looked back. It was as if he peeled and threw away his crust. I clipped and barred his shoes until his hooves had shrunk to twos, and then I put him under saddle right away. A motivated student, he became the mount I'd choose to ride the outside circles on the longest days, because he could cover lots of country. And he felt secure while flying and was good in rocks, down timber, ice, and snow. We roped a coyote once, and a lynx cap, and we damn near looped a lion. If I'd asked, he wouldn't question. He'd just go. Normal headstalls wouldn't fit him. He paddled some in front, but what he lacked in looks, he sure made up in try. When corralled with other horses, he'd usually take the brunt, and at a walk or trot, his natural head was high. He weren't born a natural cutter, but he weren't scared of cows or steers, and he responded well to leg and bridle cues. We'd work the alley gates and tight spots, well as big outside road deers, and he'd stay sound as long as he had decent shoes. We'd go to Jordan Valley to the Big Loop, have a blast. He'd swim that Bruno River like a goose. He liked to pick up bucking horses, roped as good both fore or aft, and his back would pack my cack with cinches loose. We'd go to help to gather horses off that storied Diamond Day, where he impressed the toughest guys with his no quit. And in all our years together, punching cattle for our pay, he'd always jump right in and make the best of it. I suppose, and I forgot my own poem. I didn't forget the horse, though. Jump right and make the best. Boss, I'd like to tell you more about him, but your ears are probably numb, and I know you've had your best caballo too. But old timer said the good uns, as a general rule of thumb, would be the kind that we'd remember till we're through. Old Blue and I do things only trusting friends would try when we were young and in our prime back in the day, but he got old. And so I sold him to a Forest Service guy before that option for my partner went away, because I was just a cowboy. I only owned my bed and saddle. I didn't have it all the wherewithal or land to retire him so he could live without the work and cattle, and I couldn't have bared to ever see him canned. Oh, I wasn't high on selling, but again, I wasn't crying, because a Forest Service gig's a life of ease. I never heard about him after that. Don't remember trying. I just hope he lived his life out in some peace. You know, it seems like every cowboy poet's written of their favorite horse, so I never, 'cause, well, it's been done to death. And he was just a gruy gelding with a heart that was a force, and was the kind that give their best with every breath. I was lucky and rode a lot of horses that were tough and game and kind, and yeah, a few of them and I got pretty close. But that dun horse is the one horse now of late that comes to mind when I think of them in life I miss the most.
Yeah, Woody. That's a good poem. That's a great poem, Pard.
Thank you.
I heard it before y'all did, though. He called me up on the phone and recited it over the phone to me. That's
15
really,
times
15
he heard it.
Was in the town of Griffin in the year of '83. An old-time cow drover steps up and says to me, says, how'd you do, young fellow? How would you like to go spend a summer pleasantly out in New Mexico. I being out of employment to the drover I did say, it depends upon the wages that you will have to pay. If you pay good wages and transportation too, I believe that I will go with you one summer season through. We left the town of Griffin in the merry month of May. With a herd of Texas cattle, we journeyed on our way. Our trip, it was a pleasant one. On the road we had to go until we reached old Boggy Creek out in New Mexico. 'Twas there our pleasures ended and our troubles soon began. A hard storm came on us, oh how them cattle ran. Through the mesquite thorns and thickets we cowboys had to go, while the Indians watched our pickets from the hills of Mexico. Now when the drive was over, that drover would not pay. Well, I'm sad, I've got the blues. Can't shake the sands of Texas from my shoes. And I sigh, I don't know why. It seems I've got these lonesome Texas blues. All the roll of the plain, the smell of the rain, the feel of my seat in the saddle, I'd give all I own if I could be home, back on the range punching cattle. And I guess I'll have these blues until I shake the sands of Texas from my shoes. Oh, the roll of the plain, the smell of the rain, the feel of my seat in the saddle, I'd give all I own if I could be home, back on the range punching cattle. And I guess I'll have the blues until I shake the sands of Texas from my shoes. Texas sand, drifting Texas sand, sandy land down by the Rio Grande. Well, I went to the river to water my horse, couldn't find the river, so I rode across on them drifting, sifting Texas sand. Oh, Texas sand, drifting Texas sand, sandy land down by the Rio Grande. I got sand in my coffee, sand in my tea, and when I die they're gonna bury me neath that drifting, that shifting Texas sand. Da-dee-da-lee-oh, dee-lee-lee-lee.
I thought I'd throw a little Texas song in there for you.
Is it just me, or is that the happiest blues you ever heard?
Well, they don't have to be sad, you know.
Okay, okay. I thought blues had to be somewhat blue.
Yeah, what was that?
Oh, I got a blue one. You want a No, I won't.
No, not that kind of blue.
You know, Elmer really isn't liked much by us neighbors or his peers, for he's pulled his shady dealings for shenanigans for years. Still, we all felt sorry for him when the news had got around the chemotherapy's the reason he was shedding hair and pounds. So we all pitched in. We made sure chores around his ranch got done, and if things in town were needed, one of us would make that run. And the women did his laundry, cooked his meals, brewed his tea, for as sorry as he is, he's part of our community. Then one day, my wife came to me. She said that she and Elmer talked, and for all that folks had done for him and saying thanks, he balked. But it was an envelope I'd left him, was the thing that he believed to be the most important present that he ever had received. You see, I'd given him 9 coupons to Hank's Day Spa, Bar, and Lodge. Each one good for 1 free mud bath and 1 deep tissue massage. Now, he said he hadn't aimed to use them. In fact, he almost threw them out till he heard it'd cure most everything from hemorrhoids to the gout. And, well, the local Indians believe that mud has magic healing powers, and whenever they get sick or hurt, they lay in it for hours. Plus, the doctor had just told him that the chemo wasn't working, so it couldn't hurt to try it, because Old Death was right there lurking. So we went. First, Hank had him strip and lay down on this cot. Then, with his big old calloused hands, he squished out all his knots. Then he poked his thumbs down through his meat and traced along his bones while Elmer screamed and pleaded, gasping air through painful groans. When the torture session ended and Elmer's laying sore and red, Hank completely covered him with mud. And that's when Elmer said, "I ain't never been one to believe in silly ancient lore, but I'm convinced I feel the cancer being sucked out through my pores." So he went back 8 more times for that same treatment every day. And, well, he's plumb sure it is the reason that his cancer went away. And although his doctor only pooh-hooed the whole story is absurd, he could not explain the hows or whys of Elmer being cured. My wife then took my hand and squeezed her. Eyes welled up with tears and said, "You know, at times you still surprise me even after all these years. Because those coupons you gave Elmer, though not really commonplace, just might have been the thing that proved to be his saving grace." Now, leaving well enough alone is something I ain't learned.
No kidding.
I suppose I could have just accepted her kind praises falsely earned, but no, for once I had to fall back on the teachings of my youth, and I spoiled a nice moment by my telling her the truth. I said, "Hon, I was given them 10 coupons by some hippie-looking folk that I let camp by the creek once. But it proved a sorry joke, because after Hank massaged me once, there was no doubt in my head that rather go through that again, I'd just soon be dead." And as for that there mud bath, I guess all I got to say is, it seeped in my nooks and crannies, and some's in there yet today. Look, I had no idea it would cure him. I just thought it couldn't hurt for him to practice laying still while covered up with dirt.
Only Waddie can do that. Get away. Love you, brother. Little Joe the Wrangler will wrangle nevermore. His days with the remuda they are o'er. Was a year ago last April when he rode into the camp on a little old brown pony he called Chaw. And with brogan shoes and overalls, a tougher looking kid you'd never in your life had ever saw. His saddle was a southern cack built many years ago, an old case spur on one foot idly hung. With his hot roll in a cotton sack and loosely tied behind, a canteen from his saddle horn was slung. He said he had to leave his home. His pa had married twice. His new ma whipped him every day or two. So he saddled up old Chaw one night and he lit a shuck this way. Heated like a hailstorm, long they fled, while we were all a-riding for the lead. Amidst the streaks of lightning there was one horse up ahead, Little Joe the Wrangler in the lead. He was riding old Blue Rocket with a slicker o'er his head, and he's trying to check the leaders in their speed. Well, we finally got a millin', kinda quieted down, the extra guard back to the wagon road. Oh, but there was one a-missin', and we knew it at a glance, was our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Next morning, just at daybreak, we had found where Rocket fell, down in a washout 20 feet below. And beneath his horse, smashed to a pulp, his spur had rung the knell, was our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Now little Joe the Wrangler, he will wrangle nevermore. His days with the remuda they are o'er. Was a year ago last April when he rode into our camp, just a little Texas stray and all alone. Max Weldon's braes are bonny, where early falls the dew, and 'twas there that Annie Laurie gave me her promise true. Gave me her promise true, and ne'er forget will he, but for bonny Annie Laurie, I'll lay me down and
I wonder why I feel so restless. That old moon is shining still and bright. The cattle all are resting easy, but can't sleep tonight. Ain't no cactus in my blankets. I don't know why they feel so hard, unless it's Warbling Jim a-singing Annie Laurie out there on guard. Annie Laurie, wish he'd quit it. Couldn't sleep now if I tried. It makes the night seem big and lonesome, and my throat feels sore inside. Now my Annie used to sing it. Sounded good and gay all those nights. I drove her home from dances when the east was just turning gray.
Yes, her brow was like the snowdrift, and her eyes like quiet streams. Oh, and her face, I still can see it, much too frequent in my dreams. And her hand was soft and trembling that night underneath the tree, when I couldn't tell but tell her she was all the world to me.
But her folks, they thought I was restless, wild, unsettled. That is right. See, I lean to punching cattle, and I'm at it still tonight. They say she married young Doc Wilkins. Lord, that's hard. Wish that fool would quit that singing. Annie Laurie out on guard.
Now I just can't stand it thinking of all the things that happened then. Oh, good old days, they're all past me. They never seem to come again.
What, my turn already? I'll come a-running. Would you warm me up some coffee, pard? At least I'll stop old Jim from singing Annie Laurie all night out there riding guard.
Gave me her promise true, and for Bonnie Annie Laurie I would lay me down and deep.
I've been dreading this whole weekend. Seems like every year I'm up here telling you folks about some great friends that we've lost. And this year was no exception. A couple of weeks ago, actually, we put one of my closest friends down. And he was a friend of the gathering. And you remember him. Named Rod McQueary. This is his poem. From the snowdrift in the canyon, behind the granite and the pinyon, tired, pinching horses wander. They wait for my alfalfa and the sun to conquer cold. In this middle ground between active duty and the promise yonder, they don't care too much for scenery. They're thin, and tired, and old. Last among these pensioners, one Sorrel Gilden stumbles with swollen knees and seedy toe. You can see why he's so lame. He's lost his youth, but not his dignity. He would die before he humbles. He's my dad's top saddle horse, and Woody is his name. Never cared for Woody. Not the kind of horse I claim to. He's hard to catch and fussy, and he sure never made a pet, but he could jump at cattle. That was one thing he would do. He had the heart of giants, and I can still recall it yet. We were gathering calvy heifers from a close and handy pasture, Bus rode Bronco Woody, because he had a lot to learn. One heifer broke, they ran to head her, held their ground and stopped disaster. With dew claws cut in circles, they beat that cow at every turn, so she ran blind for the willows. Bus and Woody had to race her nose to nose and pushing shoulders as she made her frantic try, and well, they pushed her in a circle till she quit and they could face her, because Buster didn't weaken. Woody did not let her by. Now I watch him strain to shuffle. touched the rifle neath my seat. It's a friend to suffering horses, and at this range I couldn't miss. He'd find green pastures in an instant. For my dad, I'd do it neat. You never hear the whisper. You never hear that or feel that Nosler's kiss. But the cranes have come. They're dancing. Spring sun melts away the snow. Oh, I know. I'll need that rifle on some cold November day, but for a sorrow cold. Who beat a ringy heifer long ago? Believe I'll go about my business till this feeling goes away.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, grace that fear relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many toils, dangers, and fears, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe this far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when I first believed.
It's just a little graveyard on the rolling foothill plains that was bleached by sun in summer, then swept by winter snows and rains. There, a little bunch of settlers had gathered on an autumn day around a homemade lumber coffin with their last respects to pay. Weary men who'd wrung a living from a hard and arid land, and beside them stood their women, faded wives, toil-worn hands. But among us was one figure who was wiry, straight, and trim. Everyone among us knew him. He's the bronco twister, Jim. Just a bunch of hardened muscle, tempered with a savage grit, and he had the reputation of a man who never quit. Well, he'd helped to build the coffin. Suppose he helped to dig the grave. His instincts seemed to tell him how he really should behave. Well, there wasn't many of us there. Just two women with weak voices singing an old-time funeral hymn, and that's all we had for service. The old wife was sobbing there for her husband of a lifetime being laid away without a prayer. Then she saw the bronco twister, and she walked right up to him. She put one trembling arm around him and said, "Pray. Please, won't you, Jim?" You could see his figure straighten, look of quick surprise shoot across his swarthy features and his hard daredevil eyes. He could handle any bronco. He never dodged a fight. It was the first time anybody had ever seen his face turn white. But he took us right away, for no words could ever thank him. There's nothing we could say. Since I gathered at the graveyard, it's been nearly 50 years. Their joys, their sorrows, their hopes, their fears. But I hope when I'm finished and you've laid me with the dead, maybe some old cowboy say a prayer above me, just like that bronco peeler said.
Waddie Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen, my buddy. Thanks, pal. Speaking of bronco twisters. Good morning, foreman. Good morning, boss. Do you need a bronco rider with a rawhide quirt to tow? I'm a bronco rider from down old Texas way. And if I can't ride 'em, boy, I don't have to draw my pay. I can ride any bronco, I ride 'em all with ease. I can rope a streak of lightning, ride it where I please.
I taught him how to do that.
Hey, hey, little wrangler boy, just bring them horses on around, bring them around to me, son. If you don't like your job, haul your saddle into town, just haul it on in there, boy.
Over two, under two, lay, pull, again. This'll be a new quirt when I get to the end, and we'll dress up the saddle of some lucky friend. Over two, under two, lay, pull, again. He sat in the barn, in the shade of the barn every Sunday, as he had for more years than I'd been, scraping hair off a hide he had skinned, stretched and dried to cut braiding strings narrow and thin. With his practiced eye and the skill of a craftsman for usable art he would strive. His advice to the world always moving so fast was, slow down. No one gets out alive. Under four, over two, lay, pull, again. This'll turn out so nice it'll hang in the den when I give it to some old-time buckaroo friend. Under four, over two, lay, pull, again. I spent most of my Sundays in his school of life. He'd share the things that he knew. And I learned that some guys I had long idolized learned their rawhiding under him too. Prepare the hide well. Keep your blade razor sharp. Temper the strings almost dry. Take time to lay each rawhide plait tight and straight and build something that's worthy of pride. Under two, over one, lay, pull, again. This will be a Rieta when I reach the end, but only as good as what I have put in. Under two, over one, lay, pull, again. Over two, under one, lay, pull, again.
Yeah, Waddie. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a new one.
that
Thank
is a
you.
good one. I know. That's great.
You want to?
Sure.
You know something?
You know.
Seeing as how it's kind of old buddy week up here on the stage, I got an old buddy that's sitting right down handy that I'll bet if you guys take the blame and don't give it to me, he might come up and say howdy to us and join us for just a minute or three. Would you make him welcome, please, our old buddy, Michael Martin Murphy?
I don't do poetry, so not even when I write songs.
Three stools.
Here we go. come a time, and of this I am sure, we'll be refined till we shine bright and pure. Some will stand with us. Forgiveness, there's no lose or win, and every ending is a place to begin. Come tomorrow with the sunrise, we will cease our wandering far beyond the fires of sorrow. With one heart, one voice will sing. We'll meet again at the gathering. We'll meet again at the gathering.
Thank you, Michael. Michael Martin Murphy, ladies and gentlemen. That's fantastic. What it's all about.
It's almost like he wrote that song for here, isn't it?
I'm telling you.
I could have been fell over with a feather.
Well, we've been together a long time. You know, you got to reminisce about some things, you know, as you get on to towards 30 years with the Cowboy Poetry Gathering here that really opened the door to it all. And I think,
goodness,
you know,
I was only 4
you were only about
when we
14
started.
then, but you know, but we want to, you know, thank. I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for Michael Martin Murphy, we wouldn't have brought it the next step further. I mean, he was the one that instigated the thing where before cowboy poetry, cowboy music had never been even come close to being on a major record label. And for those things all those things he did in the West Fest that he put on for so many years, and we were such camaraderie with the cowboy music, the poetry, the Native Americans folks, and the everybody, the mountain men. I mean, it was just an amazing picture of the West, and we thank you for that, Michael. You really deserve all the accolades you get.
Yes.
Yes, I think so. Thank you very much. I never rode no steamboat, no fancy Pullman train. I rode many a cattle trail, I've slept out in the rain. I've rode through blinding hailstones, I've heard the wild wind moan. I'll tell you boys, I've never heard nothing like the mean cyclone. Run, Donny, run now, run, Donny, run. Run, Donny, run, we'll ride to the setting sun. Poor Liza, poor girl, poor Liza Jane. Poor Liza, poor girl, died out on the plain. I rode through blinding hailstones, all kinds of wind and rain. Tell you boys, I've never heard nothing like the mean cyclone. No, I used to own the Double D, I'm punching steers today. Since that cyclone come along, it blowed my ranch away. The sky was black as midnight, never heard such a noise before. It sounded like a stampede come rumbling through my door. So run, Donny, run, run, Donny, run, run, Donny, run. We'll ride to the setting sun. Poor Liza, poor girl, poor Liza Jane, poor Liza, poor girl, died out on the plain. Well, it weren't that kind of cyclone with all its wind and rain, just big black clouds of progress come rumbling o'er the range. The winds of change they blowed and the storms agreed they moaned. They tore apart our way of life just like the mean cyclone. Run, Donny, run, run, Donny, run, run, Donny, run. We'll ride to the setting sun. Well, they won't be satisfied until they've taken all the land, and all us cowdogs are in hell burning the devil's brand. They took apart our way of life, we've nothing left to lose. We're leaving here with nothing but the mean old cyclone blues. Run, Donny, run now, run, Donny, run, run, Donny, run. We'll ride to the setting sun. Poor Liza, poor girl, poor Liza Jane, poor Liza, poor girl, died out on the plain. Mean old cyclone blues there.
What else we get from you? What else are we gonna do?
You know, it is said that every story has a hero or at least one character that's main, but, well, to call Larry anything less than grotesque is bordering on the insane. In a tavern booth in the days of my youth, we sat wasting away precious time, and one day what ensued, though you may think it crude, is the plot for this story in rhyme. You see, Larry liked to bet, and he yelled where he sat in a voice that was screechy and high, "Hey, barkeep, I will bet a $10 bill I can bite my own right eye." Now, this keep overgrown for being congenial weren't known, and his conversation often lacked grace. And all the hours therein that we'd spent in that den, we never once saw a smile on his face. He glared at our friend with an evil-like grin. I sure didn't think he'd buy it, but he reached in the till, pulled out a bill, said, "I'd like to see you try it." Well, Larry popped out his glass eye, bit it not hard, then returned that thing to its socket. Then he picks up his winning, all the time wildly grinning, stuck it neat in his pocket. Tender's face, it turned red. Some cuss words was said. It weren't hard saying. He wasn't too tickled. Larry saw the despise in them bloodshot eyes and grinned that grin he grins when he's pickled. "You're a strange sort of bloke. Most folks laugh at that joke, but you didn't," Larry said with a sigh. "But I'm of sporting men, so I'll bet one more 10 I can bite my own left eye." "You couldn't be blind. I've myself seen you find your way through tables and out to the John. You're trying to bluff. Think I've not guts enough? Well, I'm calling your hand, kid. You're on." Now, Larry weren't blind. That was easy to see. The keep thought he'd found his reprieve, so Tender knew it was at least 20 foot along that bar made of inlaid hardwood, and although he'd known men who were good with their aim, no one was known to be that good. So he took up the bet, laid down his dough. That shot glass was placed quick and neat. Larry steps up spry, lets tobacco juice fly. Not a drop came within 7 feet. Larry was beat. Revenge was sweet. The keep was laughing. I knew it, the target was too far. He walked up with a grin, pocketed his win, grabbed a rag and started cleaning that bar. "Hey, what's with your grin? You're now into me, Tin," he said, wiping the bar all the while. "Well, I bet my friends where they are that I could spit on your bar and you'd wipe it up with a smile."
Come all you good people wherever you be. I'll sing you a song, it's a sad tragedy. Everybody's grabbing for the pie in the sky. They're cheating each other, and I'll tell you why. It's a hard time in the country. It's a hard time I cry. If the times they don't kill me, I'll live till I die. Cheating and lying is all of the fashion, and I believe in my soul it'll ruin the whole nation. And we fought and we died for the land of the free. Now the home of the brave is all ate up with greed. And it's a hard time in the country. It's a hard time I cry. And if the times they don't kill me, I live till I die. Now there's the politicians in Washington, D.C. They've civilized freedom till there ain't nothing free. They're liars and thieves, they're corrupt to the core. I don't know about you, I ain't taking no more. Now our backs are up against the wall. We must take a stand, we have no choice at all. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. We must take back our country before America dies. Republicans and Democrats, it ain't no surprise. They'll rob you and cheat you right out of your eyes. Left wing or right wing, I've got this to say, that they're just two wings of the same bird of prey. It's hard time in the country. It's a hard, oh Lord, ain't it hard? It's a hard time in the country, everywhere that I go. Thank you very much.
I just wish I could encourage Don to actually say what he means. Quit mincing words around, yeah.
The truth has no agenda.
Good one. You know, as joyful as this weekend is, it's also damn in the middle of the winter. And for those of us that have the winter blues, like I do, it's going to last till Tuesday when we go to Cowboy for a week. But those of us that do enjoy poetry and enjoy stories and enjoy each other's visiting, I feel awful blessed this week. I got awful good friend from California, Eric Wente, and I got Michael Martin Murphy staying out the place, and we just get lots and lots of visiting in and stuff said and done. You know, what I've really noticed is I was standing in the same circle probably of guys that I'd stood in for 30 years now, you know. There's Chris Isaac and Jesse Smith and me and old Ross Knox, and we're all standing there kind of like this. And I looked up after we'd visited about 25 minutes, and I said, remember when we used to talk about wild cattle and horses? We bucked us off and things, and you know, for the last 20 minutes, all we've talked about is grandkids and health problems.
Yeah.
So this is an appropriate poem because when I wrote this for my oldest boy, he was just turning 16, and he's older than that now. And it was about the time I started thinking about maybe doing something else from a ranch, because, you know, it just wasn't there for a young fella. What will I tell him, you ask me, when my son tries to make up his mind to ride for a living like I have, or explore what the world has to find? Could I tell him it's sure worth the doing? Could I tell him I spent well my time? I'll just say from the start, son, it's got to come from the heart. It ain't something that comes from the mind. I'll tell him the truth as I know it, of good years, hard winters, and drought. The ecstasy of winning around now and then, giving courage to stay in the bout. That adrenaline rush when you're busting up brush on a cow pony, agile and stout. Having the rug jerk from under your feet when you hear that the outfit's sold out. I'll tell him the cowboy's a verb, not a noun. It's what you do, more than a name. And he'd be fooling himself if he's figuring on any sort of material gain. Then I'll remind him of spring calves a-bucking, of the joy and the pride and the pain of living a life that is easy or hard at the discretion at nature's refrain. What will I tell him, you ask me, when he's there trying to make up his mind? I'll just say from the start, son, it's got to come from the heart. It ain't something that comes from the mind.
A brown hand lifted in the splashing spray, the sun upon a golden head that never will be gray. A mound, but angels can do no more. We stared at our boots, and nobody spoke, till the trail boss coughed and he cleared his throat and says to the cook, tear a plank off the chuck wagon. Bring it here to mark the grave of our young companion. Now the wranglers made a fire out of dry prairie coal. Wind fanned the flames till the branding irons glowed, and we burned in the wood the words that we should have been a-saying. And down on our knees like a bunch of growed men a-praying. But there ain't much to say when a man dies young, for he can do what he should have done. And leastways the cowboys that knowed him swore that Sammy done his damnedest, but angels can do no more. Sammy rode hard and he never complained. 2 long years on the rocking chair range, chasing them strays down the salt fork of the Red River. And angels and cowboys work, it goes on forever. And as for myself, when it's my time to die, I hope there's a cowhand or 2 standing by to pat down the dirt and carry the news to the family. Say over me what we should have said over Sammy. But there ain't much to say when a man dies young, for he can do what he should have done. And leastways the cowboys that knowed him swore that Sammy done his damnedest, but angels can do no more. Angels can do no more.
Well, I drove her all right to the shindig that night. Of course, I said it was just for the ride, but, well, it probably bought me some dances, I thought, as I walked with her proudly inside. I paid her way in, we got her hand stamped, and then I was ready to go shake a leg, but we were met by some guys with stars in their eyes before I'd hung my hat on a peg. One asked, "May I, ma'am?" She offered her hand, so I waved as they went off to dance, and though she'd gone off with him, I still thought with a grin, won't be long now till I get my chance. By the wall were some chairs, so I took a seat there. I marveled as she two-stepped around. Her blonde hair would flow as she danced to and fro, her feet barely touching the ground. An hour slipped by. I had no chance to try. It seemed hopefuls were lined to the door, but every once in a while she'd flash me a smile as she waltzed past me out on the floor. I was just going to go ask when Miss Tucker come past, all 5 foot and built somewhat round. She insisted one whirl, and I'll tell you that girl partner flung me plumb out of town. I'd barely recouped when Granny Colberry swooped me up for a Varsuvienne, then a schottish with Trish, who was once quite a dish. But all things up someday fall down. It was becoming apparent that with her full card, I daren't even dream of a dance with her. Besides, why would she want to waste time with me when I was just one night chauffeur? So except for one trip to the truck for a nip, I demoted myself to wallflower. I watched 2 flasks abused, 1 fight defused, Miss Tucker make cowpunchers cower. Seemed I'd sat there for days. Though I'd try different ways, I couldn't get close to her at all. I don't know what I expect. I guess that's what you get when you come with the belle of the ball. Wished I'd stayed at the ranch when the band yelled, "Last dance!" When I turned to see standing right there by a whole herd of men doing their best to crowd in, was that gal with the pretty blonde hair. She winked me her charm, took hold of my arm. All them fellers were sure looking sad when she said through the noise, "I'm real sorry, boys, but the last dance, I say for my dad."
You got to prime the pump, gotta have faith and belief. They build each other for your time to relieve. You got to, boy, I'm about that. You're rubbing off on me, Waddie. You've got to prime the pump, gotta have faith and belief. Must give of yourself, for you're worthy to receive. Drink all the water you can hold, wash your face, cool your feet. Leave the bottle full for others, thank you kindly, Desert Pete.
We was on our way to Buckskin, gonna make a cattle run across the little cactus desert neath a hard bargaining sun. I was thirsty plumb down to my toenails. I stopped to rest me on a stump. I couldn't believe my eyes when I seen this water pump. Well, I took it at first to be a mirage that'd fool a thirsty man. Then I seen a note stuck in a baking powder can. "This pump is old," the note began, "but she'll work, so give her a try. I just stuck a new sucker washer in, but you'll find the leather's dry, so you'll have to prime it first. Work that handle like there's a fire. Under a rock, you'll find some water left in a vinegar jar. Now there's just enough to prime it with, so don't you go drinking first. Just pour it in, pump like hell, partner. You'll quench your thirst."
Gotta prime the pump, gotta have faith and belief. Must give of yourself, for you're worthy to receive. Drink all the water you can hold, wash your face and cool your feet. Leave the bottle full for others, thank you kindly, Desert Pete.
Well, I found that water, and I'll tell you, there's nothing prettier in my eye, and I was strong tempted to drink, 'cause that pump looked mighty dry. But the note went on, "Have faith, my friend. There's water down below. You've got to give to really get, and I'm the one who ought to know." So I poured it in, started pumping. Then I heard a beautiful sound of water splashing and gurgling coming up from that pipe in the ground. Well, I took off my boots and I had my fill of that cool, refreshing treat. And I thanked the Lord and I thanked that pump. Then I thanked old Desert Pete.
You gotta prime the pump, gotta have faith and belief. Must give of yourself or you're worthy to receive. Drink all the water you can hold, wash your feet, fold your clothes, and a bottle full.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Don Edwards.